cinema like Albert Pinto Ko Gussa Kyun Aaya Hai, and his new book Memory in the Age of Amnesia is rage against the dying of the light and an interpretation of the political history of India through personal stories. He will be interviewed by Sudhir Misra, who is an Indian film director and screenwriter known for films such as Hazaro Khwaishein and Dharavi. Sudhir has a 30-year career and has received 3 national awards from the President of India, as well as the equivalent of knighthood from the French government. Mr. Misra?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, that's fine.
Can you hear me too? We both can be heard, Sudhir.
Many years ago, I was in an advertising agency for 6 months, not knowing what I was doing, when Saeed Mirza walked into the office and started talking about not advertising, but cinema and the world and life and Sufism. And I decided to leave my job. And I went to Bombay, where I worked with a group which included Saeed and the greatest madman of them all, Kundan Shah, who passed away. So, and I worked with Saeed, for a small town boy, the world kind of opened up. And these are the people who triggered my mind. So it's an honor and to introduce to you the person who kind of fiddled with my head, messed it up a bit. I would have been a very straightforward man if not for them. बाजी चाहे अतफाल है दुनिया मेरे आगे, होता है शब रोज तमाशा मेरे आगे. I sometimes, when I look at Saeed, I kind of think of these lines. But I would add that he looks at this tamasha that the world is. It's a kind of tragicomedy, sometimes mainly a comedy. But he looks at it with wisdom and a kind of a compassion. Saeed comes from a kind of in a sense, a tradition. And I don't know if many of you know, but there was once a man called Saeed Mirza who came to Bombay and then started writing, and he wrote some of the films that we all know, Waqt, Naya Daur, a lot of B.R. Chopra films. That's the tradition that Saeed Mirza was Saeed's father. The Akhtar in between is Saeed Akhtar Mirza, so Akhtar Mirza is a screenwriter. And but it's also very interesting that when Saeed writes a book, he doesn't address it to his father. It's not letters to Abba, it's letters to Ammi. So I guess that he will speak about a lot, and we'll discuss this new book of his, and we'll try and make it uncomfortable. Because Saeed and I have had very comfortable conversations, and we can sort of pat each other on the back, and we can agree on most things, But let's sort of be a little provocative. But before that, this new book, Memory in the Age of Amnesia, it's fascinating, the title, and perhaps Saeed would like to read out something. So you get, for those of you who have not read the book, you get an idea of where he's going from the book itself, and not my interpretation of it. Yeah.
I'm really sorry. Is it on? Yeah. I'm really sorry to interrupt the session, but there is a car with DL12CB3349 which needs to be moved, please. It's blocking someone who needs to get away urgently. Thank you, and sorry again.
So over to Saeed then. He'd read out excerpts from the book.
I told Sudhir that before we get down into our confrontational positions, I need to let the audience know. Louder. I need to let the audience know as to a little idea about the book. It's called Memory in the Age of Amnesia. It's a little page and a half. It says, why I write. Is it because this is a messed up world that needs to be decoded? Perhaps. Is it also because I am messed up too, and I feel the need to unburden myself? Once again, perhaps. Or, to combine the two uncertainties, is it because I'm messed up, because we live in a messed up world which has a messed up economic and political system that cannot guarantee most of the people on the planet any assurance of a job, decent education, affordable health care, or the shelter of a home? A system that cannot, in fact, guarantee anything. That seems to be the answer. The net result is an alarming rise in inequality and anger, which has led to vicious sectarian and nationalist hysteria across the world, as ordinary people try to make some sense of this state of affairs. This era of uncertainty has been exacerbated with the engineering of horrific wars that have left hundreds of thousands of dead and created millions of refugees who are trying desperately to escape to safer futures. Millions more economic migrants trying to reach lands that can give them some semblance of dignity. We are living in a world of social, political, and economic upheaval. Can I decode all of this? I don't know. What follows is a series of essays, tales, folk tales, sometimes tales within tales, conversations, random encounters, metaphors, and soliloquies. Some are real, some imagined. It mixes up the past with the present and India with the world, and looks through this fog to the possibility of a future. Through this mural and collage, I've attempted to unravel the meaning of words like terror, freedom, patriotism, and national interest. In our frantic and precarious times, these are words that are unleashed. I repeat, unleashed by multinational media houses that very often serve as echo chambers for powerful countries, corporations, or financial institutions. They often also serve as a convenient camouflage to cover a lust for power and control. Put bluntly, these words can also be hogwash, a load of shit. And in this game of hysterical wordplay, the word democracy has been completely devalued. The battle that lies ahead is in giving it meaning once again. Does all of this sound terribly political? It is. But beyond it, this idea of taking on the world, my book is also about ordinary people and our dreams and our nightmares. It's in my encounters with these unheard voices that I've always emerged a little wiser, a little better. This is the first stage. You get an idea of why you are buying the book. And if you don't want to buy it, please don't. I'm not interested in peddling it. But if you do buy it, I would like to have a conversation with you after you having read it. It would be nice to have a conversation with people who've read the book. I'll go on to another piece, Sudhir. I'm sorry for this because
please
want to have a dialogue. But I need to have another piece, read another piece to give you an idea as to where I'm heading. My wife would tell me I'm using the wrong example. I'm choosing the wrong. My wife might tell me that I've chosen the wrong passage, but nevertheless, Jennifer, I apologize, but this is what I wanted to read. It was early January 1993 when Mumbai began to burn. My friends and I traveled around the city to see and document the mayhem and the slaughter the thugs of a political party had unleashed on a hapless Muslim population. Quite a few Hindu unfortunates died too, butchered by Muslim thugs. I apologize for dividing deaths by religion. But when more than 90% of the fatalities in a communal rioting are people belong to one community, anybody with any sense of balance would know it is a targeted massacre. We visited camps at Govandi, Jogeshwari, Antropol and heard stories of the people. It was heartbreaking because they actually believed we could be of help as they recounted tales of slaughter, callousness and savagery. Once in a while there were tales of hope and compassion too, of help and protection extended from the other side. The city was divided into us and them. Later I traveled to other areas in the city, especially the eastern side, and the sights I saw were horrific. The official estimates revealed that more than 1,000 people were murdered. But the figures did not reveal that what was that whole neighborhoods were destroyed and the empty shells of burnt out shops, trucks and workshops grimly sent out a loud and clear message to the minorities. It would take a long time for them to rebuild their lives. The final grotesque act was when a series of bomb blasts ripped through the city and hundreds of innocent civilians were killed. Two of the blasts were so huge that several buildings in the vicinity were reduced to rubble and body parts of human beings were splattered all over. It was sickening and also an act of random, indiscriminate reprisal. Behind this brutal retaliation was the hand of another thug, a Muslim underworld don and his cronies. I had read and heard stories of other communal riots in the north and west of the country, but this was first-hand experience of violence of this kind on this kind of scale. How had this happened? Why had it happened? How was a political party and its stormtroopers given free rein to traumatize a city? The other thought that kept coming back to me was this: if this slaughter and mayhem can happen in the heart of the financial and entertainment capital of India, what will the future be like? This is 1993. It will soon be 25 years since those ghastly events occurred in the city in which I was born. As my own memory begins to fade, the only image that remains vivid in my mind is of an elderly milkman. He was on a bicycle and had tried to furiously pedal away to safety as a mob baying for his blood. The mob caught up with him and lynched him, and then burnt his bicycle and then trashed his milk cans. It was an image. I often wonder about the members of the mob who lynched him. Did any of them feel ashamed of what they had done? How did they sleep that night? What dreams did they have? And then I think of the old man. Who was he? Where did he live? Did he have children, grandchildren? What was the dream that he had for them? On the day of his murder, did his children try to stop him from leaving the home under such stressful circumstances? Did he have the choice of staying at home for a few days till things calmed down? Did he not know how dangerous it was to go out to work as riotous mobs were on the streets destroying everything that came into their path? Did he not know that for an uncaring administration, it did not matter whether he lived or died? And finally, did he not know he was a man of no consequence? The other great tragedy about those terrifying days is when people today say, it happened a long time ago. We need to move on. Move on to what, I think? Today I hear slogans as my Prime Minister thunders, terror is terror. And my Home Minister echoes the same sound, thought by saying, go and give terror a religious color. It sounds so good. Because that's the way the law ought to be, and it's impossible to think. I had no problem with the law. It's the enforcers that made me shudder. do they really think the way they ought to? I'm done with my reading. Now we can have a conversation about the world.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of speaking to an audience of the converted, and to us, I mean, if we have a more provocative conversation, and since your title says Memory in the Age of Amnesia, so, I mean, there is a lot of things that I've forgotten. You say, where did it all start? Where did it all go wrong? What happened? And what happened in, say, 1947? Should we have celebrated that independence, or should we have mourned for those 10 lakh people who died?
Perhaps more.
So think of this refugee from both sides who comes to having lost everything, and he sees a celebration. Right? So then that celebration sits inside his head. That hurt sits inside his head and transfers one by one. Somebody was talking about that transfer in a session yesterday about people having nightmares. Of after partition, people having nightmares, right? So I mean, so those nightmares transferred to a grandchild, you know, who has a kind of a bias and a kind of a prejudice and a kind of genuine hurt, you know. And nobody addressed that. No, very few people addressed 84. Very people. So I mean, it became such a jumble of nightmares that for some this nightmare doesn't look so wrong. I mean, just as a provocation, what do you say?
No, I
kind of believe it.
I think, in fact, right in the beginning of the book, when I talked about the Gujarat legacy. Look, I want to explain to you all that this book is not just about India, it's about the world. I go on from here, I go into the Vietnam War, I go into Iraq, I go into, I don't know, back to India, and I traverse the world, but I think we in India have been somehow, in a strange way, we've been overwhelmed continuously. Unfortunately, I have to quote a book from a man who today stands condemned. His name is M.J. Akbar. He wrote a book called Riot After Riot, which is an incredible document about what our nation has been through. And what you're saying is exactly the same thing, that how do we deal with it? Have we really dealt with all these horrific onslaughts onto our memories, onto our minds? And then how do we deal with it? And we haven't. So how do we expect to find any kind of not closure? Closure is a cliched word. How will we be able to come to terms with ourselves? And the net result is, I believe, we are a nation of incredible hypocrites. I think we are the people of the lie. And we have no choices because of our history. We are the people of the lie, and we continuously need lie after lie after lie to be able to retain our sanity in a strange way. I can give you an example which I think is critically important. I was conducting a class with some second-year direction students at the Film and Television Institute of India in Pune. And I was writing a script. In fact, I was writing a script called Naseem, my last film, in which after that I said, and I'm not making any more films, I've had enough, I've written the epitaph of my country. Which is true, it was the epitaph of my country. But the point I'm getting at, those 10 students wanted to join me on the script. And I was incredibly angry because at that particular point of time, the Babri Masjid has been brought down, and I'd lived through the 1984 riots because I happened to be in Delhi when those riots occurred. It's traumatized me. My wife, I was not my wife, but then they told me stories of what happened. So I'm traumatized by these things, and then you've got this Babri Masjid and what followed and the mayhem. Now these young students wanted to join me on the script. And I was very angry, and I said, on one condition, you can join me. And I said, what's the condition, sir? I said, I'm going to ask you questions. If I agree, I said, I'm not being democratic. I'm not interested in being democratic. If I agree, you will join me. If I don't agree, I'm not interested in you coming up and working with me on the script. So these 12 students sat down in a class with me, and I said, the statement, I'm going to make 3 statements. Statement number one. We are as tolerant or intolerant as any other country in the world. We are not unique. Those who agree with me, raise your hands. There are 12 students out there. One young boy raised his hand. His name was Karthik. He was from Madras, then it's become Chennai now. And Karthik raised his hand. I said, Karthik, to defend yourself with your peers. I'm not interested. I want to hear a debate among all of you all. And I promised you for 45 minutes a debate ensued with the students, among the students themselves. After the debate was over, all the 12 hands went up. Yeah, they agreed. Because Karthik was irrefutable logic. But he came with like a hammer and all the students put their hands up. I said, okay, now statement number two. We are as violent or non-violent. What was the first one? Tolerant. We are as violent, non-violent as any other country in the world. All the hands went up. Because the first one knocked the entire argument out. I reflect on that conversation, that debate. What was I trying to prove? I was trying to tell those young people who are going to be filmmakers for tomorrow, for God's sake, avoid the cliches about yourselves. आईने में अपने आप की झांक के देखो, झूठ मत बोलो. Half the cinema that we create are complete lies. And if it continues, that it perpetuates. What are you talking about? It just continuously perpetuates. It's relentless. How do we break free? And have a serious discourse about ourselves? I don't know. But somewhere's got to start. It has to start. Otherwise, I really believe there'll be hell to pay. Quite honestly. Look, I'm 75 years old, Sudhir. I'm on the other side of the hill. But I despair. I despair because I really quite honestly feel that the young who need to question, there's a certain incredible silence, like a conspiracy of silence. The young do not question anything. What's happened?
Yeah, but I mean, the young do not question, and the young are often berated for it. The young have a world which is handed over to them by us.
That's true.
We have given them the choices. Maybe a certain generation was so scared of, I mean, the 60s or 70s boys were so scared of where they had ventured, and many of them died or survived, and they gave their children a kind of fear that if you step out of the mainstream, or if you step out of the status quo, or if you step out of your comfort, then you are heading into a dark hole from which you can't emerge. I mean, there is a scare there which our generation transferred. Or I mean, where do the young and that one question, and we can look at India as not as violent, but I mean, every civilization is based on a premise. I can look at that, or I can say that despite whatever, we have managed, and that despite whatever, if film or everything is a fiction, and we all have to live by a certain fiction, then what is the fiction by which we live by? I mean, we can either live by a despairing fiction, or we can live by a fiction which says that we have and can, and there is a possibility of forgiveness, of moving on, of holding hands, of an idea of a civilization which may not have fructified, but which has a better dream than most.
You know, to answer.
I'm just.
It's such a complex issue, and I tried to answer this question about actually, Sudhir. It's surprisingly, it's called a solidity.
This is the belief I live by.
You know, and I'd like to answer this. And nobody has an answer to every single question, and I don't. But the point is, at least if we can try to sort of to question. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because as we were talking, there's a soliloquy in my book, which attempts to answer exactly what you're saying right now. This is a soliloquy in my book. It says, sometimes I wish we had no boundaries between nations. It's utopia. Of course it is. Sometimes I wish we had no boundaries between nations so that words like national interest, patriotism, territorial integrity, and strategic assets would no longer be used to manipulate opinion, bludgeon dissent into submission, treat dialogue as weakness, and most importantly, camouflage more sinister and insidious agendas. When and how did these terms emerge? Who defined them? I also ask because strange thoughts are now crowding my mind. When the French proclaimed the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, what exactly did they have in mind? Did these words extend to the people in the vast swathes of land that the French would soon colonize in West and North Africa? When the American Declaration of Independence proclaimed that all men are equal, did it include the hundreds and thousands upon thousands of slaves coming to the land, and also the slaves of quite a few of these founding fathers in their vast cotton, tobacco, and farming estates? Crucially, did it also include the Native Americans, who over time would be looted of the lands, decimated, and almost made extinct? Who was equal, who was not? I even wonder about the men and women who wrote the Constitution of India. Did they demand too much of the ordinary citizens of our country? Were we worthy of those lofty ideals that they envisaged? I don't have an answer. I have questions. And I'm not trying to say that I have an answer, but all I know is if we do not ask, we will never get anywhere, and we will be reduced to an era of smugness, which terrifies me. And I think we are in the era of smugness, which terrifies me.
Yeah, I think so. Are we in the era of smugness? Or
I believe so.
Or are we in the era of a counter question which we have left unaddressed? Therefore, other people have grabbed those questions. I mean, you have allowed those questions to be grabbed. I mean, just for instance, you know, the idea of Kashmiri Pandits, right? Now, when I sort of went up on stage to say that Kashmiri Pandits have been wrong, a lot of my friends said, have you changed your views? I said, why would you say that? Because I stand for Kashmiri Pandits, does that mean I'm not secular anymore? Right? So I mean, because we have left, and it is a fact that we left some of those questions unaddressed, and which is why somebody else grabbed those questions and ran. We have left a lot of, we have left Ambedkar behind in the past 40 years. Therefore, but Ambedkar is valid. Therefore, people, and you cannot escape him. Therefore, you might not like it, but people sort of work with his ideas or claim him. Because we left him unclaimed. Because we went off with one narrative where only we were right. Where the Brahmin upper class to which I belong, right, sort of claimed that they had condescendingly the answers for those that were socially not their equals, but they supposedly had the answer, even though they never had the lived experience. So they refused to listen to the lived experience, which is why Mayawati is born. And she's valid.
Absolutely.
And she's a great leader. And she may not fit into nice little slots of how a great leader is.
And nor does Lalu Prasad Yadav.
So they have their narratives and they have a lived experience, and people connect and they know how to have a conversation with their own. And we did not have a conversation. And that was what was left, I feel. I mean,
the idea fundamentally is the idea of the subaltern history, which is never recognized.
So this Cambridge Oxford view of India, which then got mixed up with whatever upper caste condescending do-gooders, stop listening to the real subaltern conversation
and dismiss the subaltern
experience and therefore had discussions in hallowed places, but what happened, and there were so many people bereft of, for example, even language. So, for example, a lot of younger people will today tell me that Urdu cannot anymore be the language of film dialogue. A lot of younger, secular, nice, independent filmmakers tell me that. Because they came from certain small towns where their fathers did not speak with the right talaffuz and they were looked down on. And they want to tell those stories of their small towns and their backgrounds, which does not have that language.
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying this condescension
it is called
harmed Urdu.
The Brahmanization of the word.
Yeah. So the way it happened, so therefore the narrative is slipping away sometimes where we are not, and then we are saying that, oh, we act hurt, we are upset. Oh, how dare these people whom we looked at with such condescension and whom we would have helped betray us and go somewhere else. But you betrayed them.
Absolutely.
Sorry, as a question. Yeah,
Well, I want to make one more provocative statement.
After which you can ask. I'm just being the other side. Don't worry.
No, I just want to make one more. The idea to me is that, I'm wearing something here. Deliberately. It is a statement that I'm making simultaneously. It happens to be Palestinian. I'm wearing it here. Why am I wearing it here? It's a cause lost. It's a cause lost, disenfranchised. And people are dying every single day and nobody gives a damn anyway. I have memory. I have not lost my memory as yet. And I refuse to lose my memory. I wish I could wear a flag of 1984. I wish I could wear a flag of the slaughter and mayhem of 1947. I wish I could wear a flag of Nelly of 1983. I wish I could wear the 1992. I wish I could. I just wish I could because it's important. Yeah, it's open to... And remember, please, I must add to this is that my book is not only about India, it's about a world. It is important for the audience to know it's about the world. And now...
It's not about outrage, it's about debate.
Absolutely, it's not about outrage. Important. It's about debate, accepting dissent, accepting questions, dialogue. Thank you.
So we can now, questions can be...
time for questions. They can question you when they meet you.
So I'm told that there's no time for questions. Maybe we'll take one. Yeah.
The scarf that you are wearing around your neck definitely is a reason or a cause for the Palestinians' lost homeland. But what about the Jews? Don't they also need a cause?
Read my essay on Israel in the book.
So, I think we have to go into the others.
I see your point, sir. Read my essay on Israel. It's in the book. But I know whose side I'm on. Please. I am not.
So maybe the questions can be asked to Saeed after the set, because I think we have to go into the other session.
We can talk about that.
We can talk. Saeed's around. The book is here.
And I'll give you a whole discourse on history.
Yeah.
From the Zionists of 19...
the last question. Yeah.
Let's assume it's 2019. We have the temple.
We have?
The temple.
Okay.
The Ram Mandir. We also have a Hindu Rashtra. Will that get us peace, tranquility, progress, prosperity? Would you like to dwell on it?
Sir, you asked a question yesterday. You asked a question, I remember from the back, I was sitting at the back. I said, that's a provocative question. And that's a good question that you asked. I think it was to do with, oh God, what is the earlier question that you asked? And
Sir, I've been asking a lot of questions, I have forgotten.
You asked a question earlier and at some other session, and said that's a damn good question. It says it had to do with, because the stage was smug. They had the answers, and then you asked a provocative question. I forget what it was, but coming back
I think it was related.
There are no easy answers, but you can talk to Saeed.
Then I excused Mr. Shashi Kapoor if he didn't answer that question. He sidetracked the question.
Coming back.
Because even the Congress is now mixed up.
That your question is simple. How can we solve the contradictions of an economic and political system, like I said right in the beginning, because everything stems from there. All the issues and the fissures of society, whether they become ethnic, linguistic, religious, they stem from other systems which we're not even talking about. I want to know, when I say, why am I a Hindu? I want to know why you're a Hindu. I want to know why you're a Hindu. Don't be a Hindu. Why am I a Muslim? Don't be a Muslim. Forget, it's a waste of time. The question that you asked, Mandir banaiye aap, or ye masjid bana di, I don't know. To me it's so immaterial to a larger issue which we always tend to ignore. Banaiye mandir, and I'm sure that a lot of Muslims say, yeah, kya bol raha hai, Saeed Mirza ka naam hai. Build a temple there. You think it's going to solve the problems of India? You build a masjid there, yeah? What do you think? You think these problems have come out of a mandir or a masjid, for God's sake?
Sir, a hospital or a educational institute bana dijiye.
You will never know solve the problem. But a hospital is a better choice. But that will not solve the problem of this country either. But at least it's a step forward in the right direction. I have no hesitation in saying these are...
Let things come to the center before they go left and right. We are all wanting things to come to where we want them to be. That's the problem. Anyway,
it is Mr. Saeed Mirza's book which I will be purchasing.
Please buy it and talk to Saeed after.
And if you don't want to buy it, please don't. I'm not peddling the book. I don't peddle anything. I only peddle books and ideas.
Saeed is around and you can have a conversation with him. We're over to the next session. Thank you so much.
You're looking too slick for words.